care to begin? Start us off here.
I don't.
Clearly not.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying.
You're supposed to be saying hello and welcome to the Goggles Off podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Goggles Off podcast.
Hey!
This is our 2016 election cycle. We have our two presidential hopefuls. To my left, I have Julian, whose stance on retro games is that he thinks that they suck, and then we have on the right we have
Basically
Peter with his stance on retro games that he thinks they suck. All right, first topic, gentlemen. What's your stance on abortion?
I think that we should send all the game genies to the southern border and build a wall with them.
Oh, Jesus.
And Sega's going to pay for it.
That's right.
Oh.
Well, this is a great start.
If they could.
Yeah.
See, it's topical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm giving the people what they want.
That's our political humor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People like it when you're topical.
Yeah.
No, I would just restart it.
No, don't restart. We keep going. No, speaking of topical,
Peter, scratch that. Scratch that from the record. Peter, scratch it.
Immediately scratching.
Hello and welcome to the Goggles Off podcast featuring me, Julian.
Me, the other guy, Peter.
And a homeless person named Colin. They're bribing me with biscuits.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Just one. One for every hour. So you better stay the entire duration. You hear me?
This podcast is 10 hours long. I hope you're ready.
Yeah. We got lots of wonderful things to talk about.
Buckle up. Make sure you get some jars for your pee. You're in for the long haul. You better not leave. We're watching you.
You sure you don't want to cut again, Julian?
No, I'm good.
Oh, so this is good.
Yes.
All right.
Cut.
No, we're just going to forget it. So, speaking of things that are topical, I thought we might talk about a couple of things that come up this week in the world of gaming by way of news, just very briefly, kind of things. One that kind of struck home for me as a Mac user, which kind of annoyed me, which is the Oculus Rift guy coming out and saying that he would consider extending Mac support to the Oculus Rift once they make a computer that's actually good.
Well, let's see, guys.
Bazinga,
yeah, I know.
Zimbabwe.
Oh, don't even start.
Bazooka.
Well, seeing as he's completely right, I don't really think there's a debate here.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, everybody remembers that picture of Mark Zuckerberg walking past that crowd of people completely ensconced in the goggles, stuff like that, straight out of 1984.
Exactly.
Some sort of virtual reality thing. Personally, I wouldn't mind skipping that. I'm already happily ensconced in my own cult. So
having, I have a maybe a slightly unique perspective, because I've actually been able to use the Oculus Rift and actually program games for it.
Right.
The place where I work, my day job, what we did, we have teaching a class on teaching Oculus Rift, or how to program games for the Oculus Rift, and we taught it to children. So we had to build our own PC that allowed it to work, and it's got very strict hardware requirements. The thing is, like, if you don't have a system powerful enough to handle the Oculus Rift,
right,
it's gonna give you motion sickness. It takes several magnitudes more processing power to be able to use the Oculus Rift than just using any other 3D game. So if you're trying to use it for anything other than Angry Birds Oculus Rift Edition, then you're going to have a serious computer.
That wouldn't surprise me if that was going to be a thing, considering this is Facebook we're talking about, who owns them now.
Right.
But, I mean, I think I think it's a little bit... I think they're a little bit...
It was a little on the nose, certainly, but...
I think
No, I understand where you're coming from there. It makes sense.
The high-end Mac computers aren't that bad. I think there are Mac computers that are capable of handling
the hardware isn't bad. The problem is it takes
several
more times than what it actually costs.
Yeah,
but for the average...
That's the problem with Macs. It's never been a UI interface because people like the UI.
Yeah.
If you actually look at a pre-built Mac versus a pre-built computer, the pre-built Mac will always cost 2 to 3 times more, which is why they have a reputation as being unnecessary money sinks.
Yeah.
It's not so much that the computers aren't good, so the Oculus CEO is kind of a moron by saying that.
No, I think he's right, but in a certain kind of way. It's not about there are computers that can handle the Oculus Rift, but it's not they're not publicly owned, right? You know, every random common man has a Mac computer. It's not a Mac computer capable of handling that. I mean, he could go out and buy one, but that's not feasible for everybody. I mean, like, It's kind of the same.
I'm building can run Oculus Rift.
It's the same thing with the PC, kind of, but PCs tend to be, for the price point, like you're saying, easier and easier to accessible. So
I've always understood that Macintoshes are in the worst, to put the worst spin on it, baby's first computer, in that they are not the kind of thing. And they're incredibly user friendly to the point of being almost stupid sometimes, and they're very sturdily built, but that's at the cost of modding the hardware and stuff like that.
He says as we record this on his laptop, which already fucking died once.
After 5 years and having my cousin sit on it during Thanksgiving, I'll have you know.
No.
And also, I would like to point out that the previous podcast we recorded was using your laptop, which cannot record sound without it sounding like something that would make Alexander Bell cry.
Next.
Yes, but I blame Dell for that. I don't blame the Windows platform.
Our next podcast is going to be using my PC computer, and it's going to be Oculus Rift compatible. It's going to be
our first 3D audio podcast.
Mine's the 60 decibel fans that will be sputtering the entire time.
Oh, my fans are silent. I got a Sapphire.
Oh, you fit? Oh, that's right, Mike. You actually did blow your PC.
Yeah,
I just remember when you were playing
buddy.
Dota. We used to play Dota with you, and whenever you talk to the microphone, you just hear.
Oh, that was just my. That was because that was the summer.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I mean, we can at least summarize. Let's summarize this section real quick before we move on. The Oculus Rift is doo-doo pasta. Bought by Facebook. Now it sucks.
Now, watch your language.
Fuck corporate America. Bernie Sanders.
The doo-doo pasta thing was what really got me. I'm sorry.
Doo-doo pasta?
I mean, that's just terrible. How can you live with yourself?
I think it's a fad. It's an interesting fad, but...
I think it's the future. I think the Oculus Rift itself is a fad.
I think within the next 2 to 3 years, nobody will give a shit. I think it's going to be the Ouya all over again. And 2 or 3 years down the road, feel free to laugh your ass off at me. But from my perspective, there was some poll written on one of the game sites. It might have been IGN. I'm probably wrong in saying that. 50% of Facebook users don't even know if the Oculus Rift is even a thing, or that VR is even a thing. Yeah, and there's 17 different models being made. This is like
17.
Yes, there are 17 virtual reality kits in development right now
under the Oculus umbrella,
using the same. I want to say the same technology, but like the same benchmark.
I see. Okay.
Computer gaming related equipment.
There's going to be some serious weeding.
All I think about is the Crash 83 and all the same thing.
Yeah.
100 consoles, 100 games for each console that were only on the console. The consumer had so much choice, they didn't know what to do. They didn't give a shit, and the market collapsed. I see this is something that hasn't even happened, but it looks like it's on the horizon. And again, feel free to call me wrong all you want, but from my perspective, I think the Oculus Rift will sell based on the name. Valve will sell whatever they push because they're Valve. Everyone else will just crash and explode.
I think there is a perceptible stagnant air, especially in the console market right now. You're not wrong about that.
Yes.
I don't know if the crash will be nearly as bad because of the way the market is structured.
Can we make this topical?
Yes.
Can we put this? Can we focus this in? Can we put our great minds together?
See, this is why we invited you, Colin.
How would you, using virtual reality technology, make retro games compatible? How would you make it so that I mean you could say you got Super Mario Brothers, right? How to use the Oculus Rift? Is there a way that you can do that? Are there some games that would work? I mean, Duck Hunt would work, right? Duck Hunt would be awesome.
Duck Hunt, arguably, there is an actual demonstration running in Unreal Engine 4 where they make an entire arcade filled with retro games, and you can play the retro games inside Unreal Engine 4.
Right. Okay.
So that's a
yeah.
That's kind of clever.
That's a fucking
you want to seriously?
That's some Inception level shit right there, right?
You're walking around this little virtual '80s arcade, and there's all these arcade machines which have NES games and arcade games running on.
And there's actually inside that same simulation, there's actually an Oculus Rift that you can put on, and then you can go inside another virtual arcade inside the virtual arcade.
Except it's a virtual machine, and it just keeps using your computer's. Processing power until it just explodes.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. That reminds me of something I saw recently where I think it's becoming more and more of a thing where people are combining the old school laser tag with virtual reality goggles, where they have arenas, like paintball arenas with basic geometric large shapes that you can climb over. And it's all simulated on your goggles as this much more
all
elaborate landscape and stuff.
I'm all about that life. And
yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be too bad about it either.
Why isn't laser tag a thing anymore, right? Like,
well, it
kind
of is.
Laser tag was like a big...
more to the decline of arcades and the rise of the home console market.
Yeah.
Laser tag was seen as something that was in the arcades, but not necessarily its own attraction. And when arcades kind of went through the ground, laser tag followed.
Can I take this train off the tracks for a second? I know
we've never been on track, so feel free.
Can I tip this train even further over? Can we put it on its back?
We will burn it.
All right. Well, briefly though, because we should get on some stuff we talk about. But yes, please.
Is it me? I guess it's kind of a little bit on topic, but is it me or there's a lot less to do today, like out there today? I mean, like we were seeing a decline of things like roller skating rinks, laser tag, all that stuff that was fun to do.
Yeah.
They're all kind of going downhill, and everything's going like more inwards. I mean, there's still like you can always do the nature stuff, but is it me? Am I wrong?
No, it's throwing on you.
Am I just like an old
because the
dude
decline
now?
of arcades is a fact. The decline of arcade scene in America is a actual fact. There's nothing to disagree with.
And it also ties in with a number of location-specific pastimes. Stuff like, you were saying roller skates, bowling is another thing that's taken a big hit in recent years. There used to be like 10 separate bowling alley companies in the United States. Now there's like 2 or possibly even just 1 right now. They're all tied under together because they've all been bought out because nobody's going bowling anymore.
Thanks, Internet.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, virtual bowling.
Well,
Thanks, Wii U.
Exactly.
Thanks, Al Gore.
We get all of our entertainment online. Why even go out when you can just watch Netflix? Why go laser tag when you can play Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Why go to Blockbuster when you can rent from Redbox? Or
why go to Blockbuster ever? That's a question that I was asking.
I used to go to Blockbuster back in the day.
I think,
but the point is, everything's becoming insular because all of our devices are hooked up to each other and they all do everything.
Yeah. There's a two-pronged thing here as well, though, because while we have become more insular, there is another factor to be considered, and that is because I think our lives have gotten a lot busier.
Yes.
Because we are doing more with what time we're spending out of work, or even the time we're spending at work. And because who isn't checking their phones whenever they're on break, or whenever they're in the bathroom, or anything, really?
Or when they're walking around.
Yeah, because you have unlimited data, unlike those of us who must leech off the company Wi-Fi. Yes. But, no, it's a real problem.
All right. So, I want to talk about something real quick, just a quick headline.
Of course.
Did you guys hear about the last Nintendo Direct?
What's that?
In the last Nintendo Direct, they basically announced that they're using the 3DS and their eShop, and they're bringing a bunch of old retro games back, making them easily accessible. Let's see, Earthbound. That's a pretty big one.
My eyes suddenly widened there. Yeah, for those of you not listening.
And I'm pretty sure that's been the most requested one.
Yeah.
If they'd only released the rest of the Mother series, that'd be great.
Well, are you saying Nintendo actually is in touch with its fans?
I think that for a lot of these things, I think we'll keep this thing in mind as we kind of move on. But I think handheld. A lot of these old retro games, they seem to fit really well in the handheld model of gaming.
Without a doubt.
And as smartphones, maybe that's the future too.
Well,
regrettably,
it's no accident that our casual phone app games are being turned into arcade machines down at friggin' Dave & Buster's or whatever. Because that is the kind of quick, quarter-popping attitude that made arcades so popular in the past. It's just a quick little distraction, and then immediately move on to the next machine because you got frustrated. Or in this case, in the future, move on to the next app because you got frustrated. It's the same kind of quick, attention-satisfying action,
all those war game stuff, they make enough money to have people like Arnold Schwarzenegger show for them.
Those ads.
Seriously, Arnold shilling for what's effectively some shitty little mobile game that you might spend a couple bucks on.
Oh yeah.
But they make so much money to the point where they can have these TV commercials and get Arnold Schwarzenegger and do all that stuff on. It's a massive market.
And they had the whole what was that other war game that had that model.
Yeah, there's been a whole bunch. I don't follow any one of them.
Countless.
I just know that at my work, everybody likes Clash of Clans.
It's called
Game of War.
Game of Tits.
It had that one. It had that one big
actress.
model.
Yeah.
I remember her name.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Very prominently featured in live action against a whole bunch of CGI sprites and stuff like that. Yeah, she was pretty much the only person
All
they
right,
got.
Julian, take us to the promised land. Give us a
Well,
topic.
That was actually
The
going to
premise land, I
segue
like
into a
that.
point I wanted to make was that Nintendo's finally taken one of the first baby steps towards actually making their libraries accessible.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that really bothers me is the fact that a lot of retro games they're hard to acquire.
Mm-hmm.
By that, I mean, you have to go on eBay, you have to actually go to a flea market, either or you have to go to a reseller store. Each time you're at the mercy of someone else trying to sell it to you, often for a vastly inflated price.
Yeah, just to clarify though, that's if you want to play the games as they were originally conceived. I mean, emulators are out there and stuff like that if you want to be a naughty pirate.
So buying hard copies of games.
Yes, exactly.
Well, the thing you have to understand is I'm a purist, and I don't look down on emulators or anything. But like when I think owning a retro game, I think of actually physically having it.
Mm-hmm.
Like our shelf,
and I would agree.
Years of the both of us just getting these things, and what have you. Mm-hmm. But like for the new person trying to get into it, it's such a hard thing to find because the flea market's probably not going to have what you want. Mm-hmm. eBay might have what you want, but it's also going to jack the price up because after all, it's just an auction site.
It's a buyer's market for retro games these days, I think.
What I'm wondering...
No, sellers, sorry.
...is Sega's actually done this brilliant thing. And it's so goddamn brilliant.
Sega?
So brilliant!
Sega?
Actually, yes. Sega did something competent for the first time in 15 years.
It's not Sonic.
It is... Tangentially, yes.
It's not the Sonic movie that's coming out.
Sonic.
No,
Sonic
Sega has actually made reproduction Genesis consoles. They look exactly like a real Genesis. Mm-hmm. They have programmed in 50 games or some other stuff, and your old cartridges work.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is such a brilliant idea. The lack of effort by any other manufacturer, though. I think Atari does a similar thing, but I'm not sure.
It's called the Flashback, but you cannot use Atari cartridges with the machine. It comes pre-programmed with a bunch of stuff.
Right, yeah.
But the thing is, they've got so much crap.
I guess. Yeah.
They've got so much crap in the Atari library.
Yeah.
Because,
okay,
again,
so we'll give them an average for effort there.
Yeah.
But, like, what Sega did for that is such a brilliant idea. It bothers the hell out of me, the fact that no other company is doing that. And especially since we're entering the era where backwards compatibility is really scant across the newer consoles. Xbox 360 games are not guaranteed to work on the Xbox One, much less original Xbox.
Yeah.
Same, God forbid, with PS4, PS3, all the way down to PS1.
Yeah. The last console to come out with true backwards compatibility was the original model PS3.
Yes.
And they got rid of that very, very quickly, didn't they?
And that really bothers me because these companies don't seem to understand that. I think that there's a bigger market for that stuff than people are willing to admit. Because you look at all the popular indie games coming out. You look at games like Undertale or Fez or Minecraft. The thing that links all these games together is that they have a very distinct art style, which is retro-inspired. Very retro-inspired.
Yeah. They also have a very simple graphics hiding a much deeper either narrative element in the case of Undertale or gameplay in the case of Minecraft.
Well, I'm talking like from an outward appearance.
No,
they're all very retro-looking.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that there's a great segue from those types of games, especially in a younger audience who may not have grown up at the same time that we did, to kind of go out and say, oh, wow, I like this art style. Games from the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo may look like this. I want to play those games too because they look interesting. And what they're greeted with is a world of flea markets, rip-offs, and general unavailability. I'm sorry, but there's no reason that a fucking Nintendo NES is going to cost $200 on eBay. That's called bullshit. And that's my problem.
I lucked out with my top loader for $100. Yeah.
Nintendo and all these other companies and Sony not making older reproductions, not re-releasing these older games. It's working against them, I feel, because A, it's a big thing for people to try to get into it. But B, and this is not a different subject, but I think that also works against the narrative as games as art. Because if we can't even, preserve our older stuff, well then, it's not art, it's fashion.
But here's the question. Here's something, Colin, you can probably help us answer here.
Okay.
Is there a big... Part A, which you said...
Yes.
the companies are prohibiting their younger fans from going back and experiencing the games that they may not have had a chance to play.
Yes.
But the question is there enough of a demand? Is there enough of a reason for the companies to do this? Is that what's preventing
I think the demand is greater than zero, which is what the availability currently seems to indicate.
I think I think a lot of the discussion kind of hinges upon the demand of all these retro games. I mean, the thing is, like, you can bring up things like Minecraft, and then compare it to a lot of the retro games, and I think that there's a bunch of people who will say Minecraft is a great game, but you can find a lot of people who would make the argument that something like Donkey Kong Country 2 is a better game. And you can have that debate. That's an argument that people could have. But the question is, how do you market? I mean, Nintendo can't market that game, so it's not. The question is, how much profit is there to be made? I mean, if somebody wants to get Donkey Kong Country 2, Nintendo doesn't have an incentive, right, to go out and if it's at these flea markets, and I know that could be like a really bad experience for somebody, right? But if
all those sketchy,
but where's the incentive to Nintendo to do anything physically? I mean, we kind of mentioned that Nintendo is. Oh, actually, in fact. I actually remember this now. Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2 are coming out on that.
Yes.
On the eShop.
And I am talking from a purely purist perspective of actually owning the console and the game. Virtual market, by the way, is a great idea for that. I understand that.
So for a lot of these things, it's like how a lot of these. I mean, the imperative or the directive for these companies for these companies is to move forward, is to look forward, and a lot of the new games are inspired very heavily from the games of the past. I mean, we're talking about Sega. We're going to talk about the Sonic franchise, which is literally a 10-car pileup of them trying to capture the feeling, that visceral feeling of the original games, and then try to introduce something new that somebody wants, because they don't want to. People don't want to play the exact same Sonic game again.
Everybody remembers the legend of the Golden Goose, right? And how the people attempted to hack up the Golden Goose to try and get it to produce more golden eggs more often than once a week or something. At this point, Sega has pretty much nuked the goose in an attempt to figure out how it works.
The goose never laid a goose. Julian would probably agree. The goose is always taking shits.
No,
Is there a goose character in Sonic? Oh no! Oh no, I've given them ideas. Sega, don't listen.
Scratch?
This is going in my...
No.
No, like, Sonic was... Even if you don't agree with the gameplay, and like, I've always liked Sonic. I don't get this whole meme of, well, Sonic was never good, because that's said by morons. Sonic had mass market appeal, had profit, for one, and had respectability. Three things that are missing from modern Sonic.
I think it was the second one that Sega only cared about, if I'm being honest.
It's seen as a joke. But for it to be seen as a joke, currently it once had to have had a greater height from which to fall from.
Yeah, as opposed to Bubsy, which started as a joke.
When Sonic Adventure came out, the trailer blew people's minds. It was like, wow, Sonic in 3D, holy shit, this is awesome. From that point on, it was a slow downward slide. But at one point, Sonic was a very big marketing machine.
I think that you may be revealing your bias in this matter a little bit.
Check your Sonic privilege.
This is a big theme amongst, like, when you get in the discussion of retro games, is that the people who are going to be complaining about how far Sonic has fallen are the people who knew what Sonic was.
I have a quantifiable list, which I will get into in the near future, probably. Unless somebody restrains me.
So if you play these old games, Julian, and then they remake or they continue the franchise, then they have that context to understand, is this game better or worse than the originals or the predecessors? Yeah. And so it's hard to quantify new people coming into, let's say, the Sonic franchise. I don't think anybody here is gonna go out on a limb and make the bold claim that the Sonic Boom game, Rise of Lyric, was a masterpiece.
No. The game, no, but I hear the cartoon is supposed to be very good and doing what it was intended to do.
It's a quirky kind of facetious-y cartoon. It reminds me of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which was the like Tex Avery, completely non-serious
Yeah.
Sonic cartoon where you just replace Sonic with the Roadrunner and it'd be the same thing.
Like Sega is actually making an effort to keep it in the public eye, and I think that ties into what I was saying too.
You're not wrong. And actually, if I could just bring this up real quick, Colin, sorry, but there is a difference from people who get into a franchise later and they don't understand where the older guys are coming from, and they say, "Oh, it's all ruined," because I have a guy whose first Sonic game was Sonic Adventure, and they don't understand what I'm saying when I say that Shadow the Hedgehog is worse than dog poop on my shoe while meeting the president.
I don't know.
I think dislike for the game's pretty universal.
I'm okay with Shadow.
I think
like
that
Sonic
it's
Adventure.
a chronic misuse of the character. They're trying to make him the Vegeta to Sonic's Goku, forgetting that visually aside, Sonic is not Goku.
Can we talk about that game where Shadow pulls a gun?
Yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog, which you just said you
on me, yes.
No, that's Shadow the Hedgehog. We're talking about Sonic Adventure, right? We're talking about when he's first original. That's different.
I'm talking about
when he got his own game. He whips out a gun.
Yeah,
he runs around with a gun and shoots people.
Yeah, Sonic.
That's
the first of Sega's many attempts to revitalize the Sonic franchise with a gimmick.
Vittles.
yeah. Actually, I think wasn't the Sonic becomes a werewolf? That was a
Sonic became a werewolf. Right? Sonic had Arabian Nights.
But wasn't Sonic with a werewolf
Sonic was
moderately
a
successful?
European Night.
It might have been because
I loved Generations.
They kept doing the theme over and over again, not knowing that
Generations
the physics change doesn't work in a 3D environment. But
they made them too fast.
Yeah,
and isn't that ironic? They made him too fast. You can't react to obstacles often enough.
I think, Peter, I think that you're wrong. In fact, I think that he maybe hasn't made Sonic fast enough.
Oh.
I think what they're missing here.
Oh, we need to have a Flash game.
With
next from the makers of Arkham Knight, the Flash. He just runs straight through the city. That's it.
What Sega has missed is they've missed the fact that there was a point in time where Sonic was the fastest thing alive. Now with all these new games and new technologies, there's a game called Faster Than Light. Sonic's got to be faster than them. Sonic's got to be the fastest.
You know what you're turning into? You're turning into that Topper character from the Dilbert comic strip, whose entire mission in any comic strip is to just say, "Oh, that's nothing."
Dude, we gotta have a Sonic game.
I got attacked by 3 birds on the way into work.
Sonic runs. There needs to be a Sonic game where Sonic runs so fast that he breaks the fourth wall, and he's like running over your desktop.
No, that's
like
what he's doing in the Sonic Boom cartoon right now. They're constantly doing that. That's what annoys me.
I'm not
you watch that?
I watched an episode.
Yeah.
They're constantly leaning, if not blatantly winking at the camera.
How spicy are the memes? Are they spicy memes?
They are completely. They're spicy by way of American spicy, which is to say not spicy. So it's like Chinese takeout spicy.
Right.
Okay.
When you ask them to make it spicy, and they don't.
Kind of
getting away from a failed franchise.
Yeah.
I think Sonic kind of does kind of represent this the sort of like divide between old generation, new generation, which is kind of like there. It's always kind of there. I mean, you're gonna have a hard time. You can please the old generation by trying to deliver what they want, but it's not exactly what people want now. It has changed a little bit. Mm-hmm, but I think in general, there's a lot of elements there that you can kind of reach common ground. I think.
No, I mean, certainly, yeah. But, I mean, like, I don't know.
I would bet that if you could get a random 10-year-old, random 11-year-old, don't tell them what console it is. Get them to play, say, I'll use it again, let's say Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. They would love the shit out of that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
They would eat that shit up.
I took my Genesis to over to somebody's house because I was babysitting for them.
Right.
I popped in Sonic 2. They were having a friggin' blast.
Yes.
They didn't care about how old it was.
And this kind of segues back to my original point was that, the appeal of these things goes way beyond, age limit. Like any 7-year-old can play Sonic 2 and probably have a really goddamn fun time with it. Same with Yoshi's Island. Probably with Donkey Kong Country, too. They're all very fun games.
Yes, exactly. They're tried and tested. And that's the other advantage time gives us, is that we know what's good and what's not, because we have sales records.
Because IGN tells us.
Yes, because IGN knows all. Yes, exactly.
Can't spell it without IGN. Oh, shit.
IGN
messed it up.
No, I would say, like, there goes one potential sponsor.
We'll get our check.
Well.
Can we get our check, please, IGN? You can just make that out to the goggles off.
We want our hypothetical internet dollars, damn it.
But like, see, and
us our
this actually
YouTube
brings
money.
another point I was going to make.
Mhm.
Okay, so like we're talking about NES from Nintendo generation. Maybe, yeah, like we're getting some kind of cross-generational appeal because people can look at the graphics and go, oh, wow, it's pixels, it's so retro, that's cool.
Yes,
What
charming.
happens in the future, and I am kind of, thinking ahead here, but just bear with me for a sec.
Yeah.
5-10 years from now, when the GameCube and the Dreamcast are more accepted as retro.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a thing that we haven't really defined for purposes of the show or the podcast, but I'm going to say it because...
Dreamcast isn't retro?
I would say Dreamcast is my cutoff point.
Yes, I would say as the guy who had the idea for the show in the first place, I would like to point out
And your word is law.
that basically yes, my vision of it was that Dreamcast, GameCube, Xbox, PS2 kind of was our cutoff point. Some people don't accept it though. Their version of retro ends with the N64, but as time passes, that's going to change because retro is like classic rock. Every generation, more stuff is added to it because it's a thing that's measured by time.
Yeah, the goalposts are always shifting.
Right, yeah, like what happens when you want to play old GameCube games or PS2 games that might not work today? Suddenly this isn't so much a, virtual console argument. Mm-hmm. I don't think. This is just straight up availability issues.
Right. I'd agree with you. I came to that conclusion independently, that Dreamcast is my cutoff point. Reason being is that after the Dreamcast came the PlayStation 2, and that was the first console to have as its default controller something with dual analog sticks. That was optional in other consoles in the past and stuff like that, like with the PS1. But this is the first game that add that extra dimension in there. That is a huge leap forward in the video game industry, I would say. Also, then you have online gaming. The PS2 is the first true multimedia device because it was also a DVD player. That was a huge selling point.
And that kind of ties into how I feel about it, because I feel that was the point at which the society gets changed. Consoles became entertainment devices. And really that generation, the PS2, Xbox, GameCube, Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I think that's 5th gen. I never go with these fucking generation names at all. But the point is that's when they were full consoles. After that changed, and they became more multimedia devices.
Yeah. Anyway,
if I want to follow off that train, this sort of plot line that you've created, and you're talking about in the 10 years in the future, we got let's say the PS2 becomes retro,
right?
And because they'll have the PS
5, probably.
Yeah,
and it will be hooked directly into your eyeballs.
And it really will have no games this time.
Yep.
What's that? Wait on. So we have the Xbox. We have Xbox 360. It's Xbox One. What's next? Is Xbox 2?
No, it's Xbox Alpha.
Xbox.
Xbox Omega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really hammering the
it's just the box. It comes before the X. It's even.
No, what was the name of that one console in the episode with Cowley on South Park? The Okama Gameспhere. That's what
the Gameспhere.
Except in the Japanese, they say Okama Gameспhere. Something the boot up screen.
But if we're on that line of thinking here, then you're gonna be running it eventually. The far enough you go into the future, you're gonna get to this point where all these physical copies of games are going to be, starting to enter into the antique position.
And that's another issue in and of itself.
So is it fair to say
PlayStation discs?
Do you think it's fair for me to say that physical copies of retro games are quickly becoming fossils?
No, that's absolutely correct, which is why I believe there needs to be an even greater measure to get these things either reproduced or available in emulator form or digital download or what have you.
Right. Or at the very least, preserved.
So we think that emulators are kind of like the future, the future
in a way,
in the grand scheme of things.
Emulators and digital downloads probably will be the future.
Right.
I accept that.
A necessary evil.
I wouldn't say evil. It's like I say I'm a purist, but that's just because that's my taste. I don't look down on people for wanting to play emulators. It's convenient.
And you are the PC
Not everybody
master race.
has 15 feet of space in the living room that they want to devote to retro games. That's just how it works. It's not the same experience, 15. But that's just how it goes. You can't expect everybody to be on board with that.
I think that one aspect that's kind of missing. I think that you probably haven't brought this up yet. I don't think is that the emulators that currently exist, you're kind of talking about this on the Sega thing, right?
Yeah.
But in the like, if you look at the you can talk all you want about the 3DS's eShop and all the retro games that they're bringing back.
Yes.
But it's not exactly the same as being able to sit next to your friend on a couch without a controller and play. I mean, especially for these multiplayer games. I mean, a lot of these
are multiplayer online only.
So there is something to say about. There's something.
Sign of the times, my friend. That's just how it is.
I mean, on 3DS, there are some options, but on like the Wii U, there are some things too. It's a little bit different because I mean, by base, the Wii U has like this I mean, you basically you're wielding nunchucks or a dinner plate. So that's your controllers. So it's not
thought of it as a cutting board.
Exactly the same, but it's
no,
similar.
but you know, if you look at it from a generation after us, they're bemoaning the fact that we never got the time to spend in arcades like they did, hanging out with their buddies after school.
Yeah,
it's just a sign of the times. Everything's online. You won't get that experience, but that's one thing that we have that's unique to us, and that's just how.
Do you think?
Oh, that was the other cutoff reason. Sorry, it's just the Dreamcast came at a time when arcades were kind of having their last gasp, and a lot of Dreamcast library, your Hydro Thunders, your Crazy Taxis started out as arcade games.
Yes,
the Dreamcast is an arcade-heavy port game and that kind of thing. It's kind of like the last hurrah of a dying generation kind of a thing.
Right.
That's why I think of it as my cutoff. Anyway, sorry.
So do we have that? Is there a solution beyond? Just kind of moving all the future consoles. I mean, because the market for console gaming is couch gaming. Let's be completely honest.
Mm-hmm. As it should be.
So, do you think that the future is like there should be? I mean, like what do we take away from this? What do we do? Do we just yell at Sony and Microsoft until they produce enough? Keep porting these games over. Or
well, another thing that I actually kind of realized while we were talking about it is
they always going to pay. They seem to pay. Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. One of the things that may be hindering the porting of retro games onto the more advanced consoles is licensing, because you have the games like Rocket Knight Adventures made by Konami, and everybody knows how weird Konami is with their properties these days. And stuff like that. And you have other games like, I don't know, your Tecmo Super Bowl or your Galaga or even Contra or anything like that. The fees must sometimes, you have to weigh it against, okay, how many people are actually going to buy this, and instead of just say, oh, hey, this is cool, and then move on. Kind of a thing.
I think,
How much window shopping is there going to be versus actual buying?
There's always, that's a question mark there, because, I mean, if, let's say, hypothetically, Nintendo re-released the NES and they made a new one, right? And they re-released it and said, for all your people who want to get NES and NES games.
Right.
I don't think it would sell very well. I think it would bomb pretty hard. But if you look at but there's also kind of like, I mean, the GameCube has been a while back now. I mean, Wii U. But
15 years.
Yeah.
Right. But they recently started reproducing and selling the GameCube controllers, primarily from the Smash Brothers franchise. Smash,
because it's a wonderful controller
Smash
to
on
hold,
Wii U.
and it's not a square brick of soap.
But the big thing is that, like, I mean, this is again we're talking about purists. This is like Smash purists, and they want they want that GameCube controller because they like it better than wielding a dildo into battle.
And they also like it better than holding a fat Psy, aka the N64 controller.
Yeah.
How we originally played Smash Brothers. Yeah. But anyway.
I don't know. I never liked that controller. Can I just be honest? I think that controller
N64 controller is fine.
I think it sucks.
You are
are
hopelessly naive, Julian. I'm sorry.
I grew up with it. What's naive? The fact that I own one for 7 years?
These are one of the times of the god.
Yeah, you have the calluses built up. That's your advantage.
The NES, the NES is good. Super NES is good.
Tell about how your brother made
It's lightweight. Then you get to the N64, and then you got this big.
Basically, see, here's the thing. You hold like this, where my right hand is on the right hand side.
Yeah.
My left hand is near the center stick, or you can do this, where your right hand's on the D-pad using this one. It was set up so that different games use different control inputs. I'm sorry, but I would have to say that it is actually too deep for you to understand.
Too deep is a good analogy, because if you hold the left and the right side of the controller, it's perfectly shaped to put it up your butt. I mean,
I was maybe the first person to think of that.
They knew their market.
Oh,
that's smart marketing.
Oh boy,
that's it.
Did you have Nintendo consoles growing up too?
I'm sorry, Julian.
Mr. I'm so above you. Get the fuck out of here.
Who is the first one to introduce the Rumble Pack, Julian?
Oh no! Oh no!
What's the
mystery is up. The jig is up, Nintendo.
You know how to treat your audience, Nintendo.
Nintendo, yeah. We really want to know about when you bring back those retro peripherals. Can you bring back those retro? Actually, I think the new controllers still have Rumble features though. So
yeah, they do.
All controllers have Rumble features now. That's a standard.
No, so, I think it's talking about the new GameCube controllers.
Oh, okay.
So we're basically saying that the Wii remote cuts out the middleman. You don't need handles anymore.
Yeah, no. Who needs handles when you can chuck the controller at your TV screen by accident or on purpose?
Yeah.
Stupid idea.
Yeah.
I like that. I love GameCube controller. That's like so good.
It molds quite firmly in your hand. When I'm playing stuff like Metroid Prime for hours on end, I forget it's even in my hand.
PlayStation 2. Now that is a good controller too.
That too.
DualShock.
Yeah.
Which was around when the PS1 came out.
Mm-hmm. The 360 controller also very good.
I like everything being right within my grasp. Mm-hmm. That's what I hated about the N64 is that everything's off to the side. Everything's like you have to move your grip.
I don't know if you guys play the original Xbox.
Grip.
That's why I'm forgiving on the N64 controller. The original Xbox controller with the black and white buttons was a shit show.
Yeah,
it was huge.
That like big UFO looking thing.
Yeah,
I've seen.
Oh my god, you want to talk about shit controllers?
Yeah.
The original Xbox controller where it didn't even have shoulder pads. It just had the black and white buttons, both of which you could only hit with your right thumb.
Yeah.
As you were doing other stuff in game. Holy Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was beyond terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And this looks like a GameCube controller in comparison to the N64 controller. It's the same comparison, man.
I think
the Atari Jaguar, a fucking keyboard and a joystick.
Do you think? And I think
if you were lucky, it had a joystick.
I think the answer to this is pretty obvious. But besides Nintendo and whatever acid trip they're on, you think the controllers have generally been getting better and better?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's definitely fair. Definitely fair.
We
really cut off track on this, didn't we?
No, we're still retro. This is retro.
We're talking about the hardware and accessibility to old games.
Well,
it all ties into the user experience,
That's
which,
true.
when trying to get into retro games, is the thing.
Yeah.
Here's something else we could talk about on that topic: achievements versus cheat codes.
These transitions are great.
Yeah, they are. All right.
Transition. Achievements versus cheat codes.
Hang on, I'll do a wipe. Hang on. All right, everything's fine now. All right. Were you gonna say something, Julian? I'm sorry. I can save it for later.
I feel like we haven't.
I took over the conversation. I have nothing to add.
Okay.
I think we haven't yet resolved.
Yeah.
I think we have not yet kind of like ended. I feel like we kind of like threw a bunch of things into the ether there, and they're just kind of floating around in space.
Yeah,
space time.
So we gotta drag it down to Earth. Okay.
We gotta lasso some of these things and pull them back in. Don't you think?
Okay.
I mean, we kind of got off that.
Attempt.
So, you're talking about that Sega, the thing that allows the backwards compatibility with the
reproduction console. Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Repro Sega Genesis.
Now, you think that the other companies should follow through with this?
I do. Yes.
No.
Even Xbox?
Is this like for
Microsoft? Yes.
Okay.
There's plenty good Xbox games out there. And you know, like, I'm not saying like they should have to do it within physical console release because that has its own pitfalls. There is a marketability and there is a profit margin with that. I understand. Look at it the same way that you know. And granted, okay, I could be completely wrong in this, but I just can't help but think the way that they do like these bargain bin DVDs, where there's all these like old 80s and 70s movies, they still sell because they keep making them.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost much effort to put onto a DVD. Even if they did like a virtual console, put on like the Xbox library or the PS1 library, if people have the option, that's not a bad thing to have the option of actually playing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main point that I try to harp on. Yeah, okay, everybody might not go for it, but as gaming continues to get more and more mainstream, by association, more people will get into retro gaming too. Yeah. And it might not be a straight correlation. I just think that there's money to be made either in digital downloads or physical reproduction. At any rate, I think that there should, yes, be a greater effort to actually bring this stuff. Make it more accessible.
Do you know how that console kind of works? How does it manage all the different kinds of cartridges and.
Well, it's simple. You put a cartridge in and it works because it's functionally a Sega Genesis. It's when you start it up without a cartridge in.
Yes.
Then you're brought to this menu where you select from the games and they're pre-programmed into the machine.
The putting a cartridge in is basically a switch.
It's only for one system, right?
It's just the Sega Genesis.
I feel like you couldn't possibly do that for something like Nintendo, and you have like.
Well, they already have third-party things out there.
You go from Square.
Mm-hmm.
You go from the giant square or giant rectangle into small rectangle into kind of a rounded shape.
No, there exists
into
consoles.
Discs, into
big
discs.
You have the Retron.
Yes, exactly.
Little dicks into little dicks.
They have multiple slots in one console. It's called, Julian just said, the Retron, where you have multiple cartridge slots in one unit and a little switch to separate each one. So you want to play one game in one slot, you just put the thing in, flip the switch, turn it on, and then bam, you're playing it out of that. But
no,
the thing is, that's not first party.
No, and the Retron actually uses emulators for it, which is actually, I think, still this big legal thing going on where people use other people's code and it wasn't actually
because then
highly frowned upon.
Besides the experience and the purist elements there, why use that over emulators? I mean, general, like,
I don't know.
Want to make all the...
There really is no argument besides the whole purist thing.
It's just a matter of preference.
You did bring up that point about the licensing. So I guess that would be a reason. Yeah. But I think at that point, something like Nintendo, if they're going to produce a console like that, or you say Microsoft or whatever, they're probably going to be like, screw those guys. We want money for our games. That's why you won't see any non-Nintendo stuff on the retro eShop. They have some indie titles, but those are like new stuff.
I'm sure they will. Yes,
but also another thing to consider. I think several major things to. I'm repeating myself. Consider.
Let's dispel the notion that Peter doesn't know what he's doing.
I'm Marco Rubioing it here. I know exactly what I'm doing. All right. No.
You can see the size of his hands.
I plead the fifth.
Okay. Okay. No. Sega, when they had their Genesis console, their cartridges came in a very convenient clamshell packaging where the cartridge snapped in, the whole thing snapped closed. That means A, it's much easier to find the games complete, and B, more importantly, the games are much more likely to last longer because they had that extra layer of protection. It's not like Nintendo where they had the paper boxes that people would just take the game out and immediately throw it away or something like that. Yeah. Because generally that's what happened. And also Sega just doesn't give a fuck anymore because they're not making consoles, so what have they got to lose?
They clearly don't give a fuck after what they did to Sonic. So.
Yeah.
Or Aliens.
Yeah.
But Nintendo, they feel like they could make some money doing it on a virtual thing on their new console as opposed to making a new dedicated piece of older retro hardware.
I mean, if I could just go off my point, because this was something from a comment that I made.
Yes.
I just bring up the physical reproduction because I'm a purist and I will immediately go to that mindset of, have a physical thing. Availability is availability, virtual or not. That's just, whatever.
Yeah.
I just brought the example of making a reproduction console up because that is my first thing that I think of when I think actually playing retro games. Is sitting down on my couch and having a controller in my hand.
Right.
Whether it's a Wii U on the eShop or not, but that's just whatever. I'm not trying to play like one's better than the other, or companies should do one over the other.
Right.
I prefer it a certain way, but not everybody else will. That's just how these things go.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know what I'm going to say.
well, basically, we paused, and then Colin ran out of ideas, so now we're going
I have ideas.
Yeah.
I have ideas. Last time we were on the podcast, we talked about an idea of somebody pulled a game out of a hat and then attempt to pitch that game to the other person on the presumption that they're really not that interested in it. We don't actually have a hat, but Colin, I thought it might be a good idea for you to attempt to pitch to either me or Julian something that is outside of our field of experience. For me, I don't know anything about JRPGs, so you could attempt to pitch something to me.
Well, unfortunately, I know everything, so
yeah.
This just turns into Colin recommends games for Peter.
So that's because that's a dumb name. I'm calling this the Game Shark Tank, named after the popular show Shark Tank, where silly entrepreneurs try to pitch their silly ideas.
What if I don't really care that much for JRPGs? How about this?
I know which RPG in Finn's from.
Okay.
You guys ever play? It's probably have. You guys ever get into the Harvest Moon?
I have.
Isn't that like a farming game?
All right, there we go. I gotta.
He's got a hook. He's got a hook. Oh no.
It is a farming game.
Oh no.
Do you want to farm? Do you think farming
No.
is fun? Let me tell you something. It's kind of like The Sims in a way.
I've never actually played The Sims.
Okay.
I played SimCity.
All right. Okay. So now, we'll start. Okay, we're getting layers. We got layers here. We'll start with The Sims, and then I'll go back to Harvard. Okay.
Christ, you guys
The Sims is kind of like real life.
Shut up. Great concept.
The Sims is kind of like real life. Do you like real life? Sorry, this is not a retro game.
I love real life.
Back to
the life I live.
Back to Harvest Moon.
Yeah.
There's actually a game that's like Harvest Moon, which is a indie title, which is really
back to Harvest Moon. Getting away from Harvest Moon.
No, it's still it's kind of like a spiritual successor. It's a really popular indie game at the moment. I'm
Reciteer.
Reciteer is like that, but it's not exactly like in that retro style.
Okay.
I mean I could probably
you're losing me here, man. I don't know.
Maybe we should just
Harvest Moon.
Yeah, let's do the Harvest Moon thing.
Yeah.
So
no, like
you've got the hook. You've got the farming hook.
Okay,
yeah.
so Harvest Moon is a farming simulator. Mm-hmm. It's a waifu simulator. It is. I mean, you like waifus, right? You want a waifu for the rest of your life? Basically,
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on that.
Basically, it's a game where you're trying to take a struggling business in a small town, and you're trying to make something big out of it. If you happen to find love, if you happen to find friendship along the way, that's awesome too.
Okay.
It's a very relaxing
and
game.
a lot of fucking weeds.
It's very peaceful,
but not the good kind.
It kind of has I mean, the Animal Crossing series is like very heavily inspired from this. It kind of takes a game and it kind of pulls you. It's
a management simulator.
It draws inspiration from your real life. It kind of for a lot of games. There's a lot of games which are like totally fantastic and in scenarios which you can never possibly imagine. Games in space, aliens, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But having a game that brings you back down to earth, you can just sit there and relax. You know what's there. You know how things work. You don't have to be explained a new mechanic. You don't have to be explained. You know how to make potatoes grow. Put potato seeds in the ground. Or you buy the potato seeds, you put them in the ground, you water them.
It's a very casual, comfy game is what you're getting.
It's a very casual, comfy game.
Okay.
And so you get into the game, it doesn't have to explain stuff to you, it just tells you, it gives you, like, this is one of the things that's great about retro games, right? It tells you what you gotta do. Make your farm successful. You need to raise some money.
All right.
And then...
Wait, can we...
When
did
this
game come out? Sorry to...
It's a series. There's Harvest Moon 64, there's one for the Game Boy Advance, there's...
Yeah.
Okay, so this has been around for a while.
It's ongoing, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that I had heard there was like more than one. But anyway.
Yeah.
So the idea is that it's a game that really has that rustic charm, that sort of small town kind of suburban charm. Mm-hmm. It's not a
play after you come home from work to unwind.
Exactly. It's not a game that's gonna blow your mind and get you at the edge of your seat.
No.
But it's the kind of game that you can snuggle up in a warm blanket by the fire, play a little bit of Harvest Moon
with your companion pillow.
It's
your waifu pillow
with your full body waifu pillow.
Yes. Oh God.
It's a game equivalent of snuggling up to the fireplace with a good book.
Okay. Yeah.
Very casual, laid back.
And
not particularly high stress unless you stress out about it.
Yep.
Now, what is there any kind of antagonist other than the looming threat of your failure of making it big in this business?
Weeds.
There's no like
there's a demon
festival which make you hate other people.
There's a demon that possesses the game.
Remember what I said about it being a low stress game? That's actually sometimes bullshit.
Yeah.
No, it's The weeds are a nuisance, but that's like, I mean...
Right, because that's your
I'm joking here, but like that's the closest thing you get to the antagonist.
It's more of like
that's what I figured.
It pokes you and it reminds you that you're a shitty farmer. It says, hey, you gotta clean your weeds. You can't just fucking slack
like
off and try to date your waifu all day. You know? You can't go fishing. You can go fishing, but you can't just be fishing all day.
But,
you gotta tend
but
to
can
that
I
fun.
go fishing for whales and clams and bells and whatever?
Go to the bar.
No, you can't. No, you can't. But the thing is, that's the reason it's different. Now, if you had Animal Crossing where you can marry an animal,
which I resent.
I wonder if there's laws against that in the Animal Crossing universe. We need an episode on the Animal Crossing canon. Okay, we need to talk about that.
The canon?
I could do a whole episode on Animal Crossing.
I did want to talk about Animal Crossing as review because I played it growing up and the original GameCube game is brilliant.
I want to talk about the future of Animal Crossing and all the they're sitting.
I
on
want to talk
about
the future of you being silent.
They got a gold mine. They're sitting on a gold mine. They're sitting on a bell mine.
I'm making eyes at the door right now, ladies and gentlemen.
What door? We have one.
It's a doorway.
There's no door. This is a prison.
Just this little gaping hole that is in the prison wall.
There is no escape.
Remember what they said about helping other people?
Mm-hmm. That's right. We're in a prison of our own making.
Actually, hell is a very real place, and we are trapped inside it.
That's why when the demons invade, I'll be the most prepared because I sank so many hours into Doom.
That's right. Oh, God.
The demons.
But no, getting back to our original point, before we started going full meme-tacular here.
Yeah.
No, it's a very casual, comfy game, and, it's Japanese, but, that's not a thing to really pull against it. It's just, it's a casual game.
Just so long as it leans more towards the Sims side of things rather than the visual novel side of things, consider me sold. Let's just say that.
No, actually, it's a lot like Animal Crossing. In fact, it's very stylized and kind of...
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that and say that I'm still sold.
Do you hate Animal Crossing?
I really don't see the appeal.
Can we fucking kill him?
Jesus.
Can we?
You can. You can
we
try.
hate him? Can we?
I've got an axe in my room.
No, I think we'll succeed pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've got leverage on you guys.
Okay. Well,
I've got a weapon right here. It's a remote.
Well, this podcast has ended on a complete disaster.
It's like everything we do, we're just like breaking out arguments towards the end.
I think we should cut it here and start from scratch because we just ruined it.
All right.
It was going really good
until Peter came along.
Peter opened his mouth, said something bad about Animal Crossing. We got to start the whole thing.
Oh no!
Over.
Heavens to Betsy! If I have an original thought or express my own opinion. Oh no! Oh my goodness! Excuse me for swearing in my Mormon fashion.
Have you even played Animal Crossing?
Yes.
Honestly, how long?
Many hours. I got bored.
All right.
I got completely and utterly bored.
And yet you played for many hours. So.
I was waiting to see if something interesting happened.
It's like the Steam reviews of Skyrim. This game sucks. It's a waste of time. Playtime, 200 hours.
There's a reason why
I couldn't kill the raccoon.
There's a reason why all these like Euro truck simulators are so popular. It's like
they're just time sinks. That's the appeal.
They're comfy.
Besides the fact that
they're comfy.
You use it for the original purpose it's a simulation. Where if you're a business owner, where you have to calculate how a route is going to be planned out. That's the point of view.
It's a very. I mean, you could do a whole bit on this, but a game that you don't have to learn. There's no tutorial. You know the rules.
Yeah.
You put the game in. You know how it works. You know what's going to happen. That's why the sports game is so popular. Somebody plays football. They know football. They put a sports game in. All they got to do is learn the controls. They know the rules. You throw the ball at the guy, and you kick the ball, and you score the goal, and you get 20 points.
Simplistic puzzle games also have this appeal, which is why Tetris continues to live on.
Yeah, platform games too. It's very simple. You jump from one place to the other, go from left to right or right to left. It's easy peasy. Yeah. Everybody can understand that. But yeah. Anyway,
when they appeal retro games in and of itself, easy to get into.
Yeah,
that's our tagline for the episode. Anyway,
that's a tagline for every episode. That's our motto.
It's our
back on track. That's our motto.
I like to add, I'm not contributing to this. This is just the other two.
We'll start printing T-shirts.
Yeah, our new motto is back to the original point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we ever had one. Does anyone have any ideas for what we might want to talk about for our next podcast, whenever that may happen to be? Because I'm about to bugger off to Florida here.
I don't know.
I was gonna say, do you want to go into the dick measuring contest, which is the console reviews? We want to talk about which consoles are the best in general. We want to get into that as our next episode. Do you want to talk about commercial success and failure, why these things were good and bad?
No. I say save that. Save that for later.
Well, Well, for later, yeah. I mean, like, that's certainly a subject I would like to tackle.
Yeah.
God almighty, like, we'd have to spend all episodes on, like, one versus one, and that'd be the entire discussion, though.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm certainly down for it, yeah. But,
all right, I've got a better idea.
Maybe we save that for a rainy day. I mean, leave them.
No. How about gaming peripherals? Not just controllers and how well they mold into your hand, but other stuff in attempt to get you into the game, kind of a thing. And we can measure them on their success.
We're talking about the steering wheels and the
we're talking about the activator ring for the friggin' Sega Genesis
and the disturbingly dildo shaped N64 controller with the rumble pack.
This is the fourth time you brought up insertions, Colin.
Spice up your vanilla love life with some retro gaming.
That's right. Turn the vibrator on. Oh God, I did it again. Turn the rumble pack on full.
Freudian dick.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean slit.
Oh boy. Okay, and anyway. All right, with that, I guess we'll conclude. I hope you enjoyed at least 20% of that, any and all listeners, and hopefully we'll be back with hopefully we'll be back with a real topic next time.
We're gonna lock this episode in the
we're gonna
goggles off vaults. Seal it off with a.
All right.
Seal it off.
See you next time.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.